This is our return visit to Brands Hatch for rounds 21 and 22 of the season. The morning's first qualifying session has just started, so let's see who is challenging for pole. With only hundredths of a second separating the first few drivers, we should have a cracker of a race on our hands. Well, the cars are now lined up on the grid and ready to start the round. So let's get down to the track.
Welcome to episode 21 of TOCA Touring Car Championship, and where surprising as it might be, I'm actually ahead of both the Renaults on this attempt of recording, which was something I totally did not expect was going to happen. Okay. So yeah, I am ahead of both the Renaults at the moment, and it is fair to say that because Menu was caught out by the first lap scuffles that were going on, if I can actually hold on to second, then I will technically be in this to possibly increase my lead over Menu if all goes well. I mean, keep in mind of course that at most I would say I'll be gaining about 3 points because he did score the pole position, and the Audi at the moment who is leading this thing, he seems to be pulling away at the moment and really trying to keep my car under control. Thankfully I do, and fortunately I do not lose too much lap time as a result of me getting on the wet stuff. That could have been a lot worse than it actually was. I do know this from experience because technically I've tried and failed this so many times now. I honestly don't know if this either will or won't be the attempt where I actually choose to achieve success. And almost had a wobble there. I had no other choice but to get out of the throttle if I was going to keep my car with me unscathed, at least in terms of keeping the handling of the car unscathed, which I can say is what I need to do. And forcing Menu out wide just because I honestly don't care, and oh fuck me. And he's ahead. Oh, okay. Neither of us are having a good day at the moment in the office. I think I am now ahead of Menu once again, and I'm ahead of both Renaults, which is crucial. And I do think from 5th on back to 10th, it's a total of about, what? 1 point between each of us. So I really do hope I can get some positions chalked out on the board, because up to this point I've been struggling so much with this. I honestly don't know if this either will or won't be the segmented attempt I have, but again, the important thing is I'm ahead of both of the Renaults, and this bumpy track surface almost sent me into the edge of the pit wall. That could have been a lot worse than it actually was, had I not been there to show my cat-like reactions, or just about cat-like reactions. And I am now closing in on one of the Volvos just up ahead of me. The gap is now only 3 seconds. I do also have my fan on right in front of me if you're hearing anything else aside from the fan in my PS3, which is obviously what I am using. So I do have a fan in my PS3 because, well, that keeps the mainframe cool, and I also have a fan that's sat right in front of me just because I'm really working a sweat off here, and I figured I was needing it if I was going to stay calm, or at least try to stay calm, because at the moment, even though I am ahead of both Renaults, this race is far from over, and I need to stay ahead of both the Renaults if I'm going to achieve the best possible result I can achieve. Also, with an Audi actually leading this race, that's going to be hugely beneficial for me, because then it means I don't have to worry about Menu making me his puppet. And there's another Renault there. Not really going to care too much about what happens there. Figured I had to force him out of the way. I really don't care as long as I'm ahead of both the Renaults, and this will help me out in my efforts towards potentially scoring the championship, because I know very well if both the Renaults are behind me, then it basically means I'm pretty much in it to win it. And for once we might actually get another car winning this race aside from one of the Renaults, since I can confirm both of them are now behind me as a result of them both being involved in their own separate incidents, which is what I needed if I was going to retain the points lead. And even though Menu did score the pole, if I can score 2 points, then going into the second race I should have a 6-point advantage if things stay the way they are, although if I move up to third I could potentially have an 8-point advantage going into the second race, you know, because Menu did score the pole position point. So slowly closing in on the Honda, it would appear, and my laptop is not giving me any quality issues yet, mercifully, which, even though I did have a successful attempt last time around, obviously it was because of that that I ultimately did not get the video file I was wanting. But again, this race is far from over. We still have a long way to go. There are still plenty of opportunities for me to make it into the top 3. Doesn't look as though I'm going to catch up to the leaders, or the leader, because this is where the AI peak in terms of their performance, and it now looks as though I'm dropping back into the crutches of both the Renaults. I think that's Plato, who is still ahead of Menu at the moment. Of course, Jason Plato has technically saved my ass a few times this season by scoring wins where Menu didn't, and that has been crucial towards my championship winning campaign. And Plato has spun out again, this time at Druids, and I'm now trying to see if I can close back up to the Volvo that is in front of me, but still, with both Renaults having trouble in the early stages here at Brands Hatch, it is fair to say this race is far from over. I don't necessarily have to win it, but I would like it if I could finish in second at the most. If I'm going to be ahead of both the Renaults, then I need to make sure I solidify the mistakes they've made by pretty much scoring as many points as I can and hoping that whatever happens, Menu does not pull off anything shady. Which I'm pretty sure is what will happen because he's technically, well, Menu. And I do know very well that he is practically... Oh, for fuck's sake. I should have known that was going to happen. Fortunately, however, he did not benefit from it because he went off track as well. Meaning, I do manage to at least hold on to 4th, and if he keeps making these mistakes, then it is fair to say I will just be happy to run in 3rd if Menu keeps making these mistakes, because that basically means I will be there to increase my championship points lead rather than lose it if things stay the way they are. And if this does turn out to be the successful attempt I record, then it is fair to say we are going to have one hell of a battle up front. The way I see it, between the leading Honda and also the Audi. It is also nice to see there is another team aside from Vauxhall or Renault that's actually leading a race because of all the chaos that happened in the early stages. I am glad to say that I am ahead of both Renaults, but again, Menu is not going to give up without a fight. He's practically going to fight me even harder. He's practically going to fight me about as hard as either Muhammad Ali or Anthony Joshua, because he's going to basically try pulling off every fucking move in the book to make me flinch. And at the moment, whilst I'm ahead of both Renaults, and whilst I do know they are clearly faster than me, I'm not going to let them have it. I'm just basically going to be mean and not let them pass me, because it's not my job to let them get past me if I'm going for a championship. And looks as though the two leaders are now well ahead of me, but again, if I do manage to hold on to 3rd position here, then it is still fair to say I will gain some points on Menu. Even if it's not many, I will still gain some points regardless, because as long as I'm ahead of both the Renaults, then it does mean that I will manage to come away with a bigger points lead than I had before. Meaning it will increase from 4 points to 6 points at the very least. Maybe even 8 points if Menu keeps making the mistakes he has been making. Which means, instead of taking the championship lead away from me, it will instead increase with me having the advantage. Something I did not think was going to happen until I saw the race start. Sure, I had to keep myself on mute because I didn't want to jinx myself, but it is fair to say I could be a real threat for winning the championship because of this. And as long as everything goes my way, then technically I should increase my lead by at least 2 points over Menu if all goes well. Because I needed both of them to have something go wrong for them if I was going to be ahead of both Plato and Menu. I mean, I knew Plato was going to be making a mistake of some sort, but I did not suspect Menu was going to be a victim of the chaos. And I can definitely say that was crucial, because if that hadn't have happened, then Menu would have pretty much gone onwards to dominate this race, but for once, I can say it's actually nice to see somebody else, aside from either Vauxhall or Renault, actually leading this race. And I think it's Audi that's still leading this race because, well, you know, Frank Bieler was the one who qualified on the front row, and because Menu was a victim of circumstances, obviously, he effectively lost the race lead, and as a result he is now behind me. So if I can keep him behind me for these next 19 laps, then it is fair to say I could really have a good shot of building on my points lead, as long as I don't hit the pit wall every lap, which is what I just did there to make sure my microphone was still working. And the Renault is right there. He gives me the bumper, but he runs wide as a result of it. Probably went too fast into the corner again, I would suspect. But somehow he does not fall further back than he did. And that's a wall. That could have been a lot worse than it actually was. It would appear as though third at the moment is the best I can really hope for. And that's okay as long as I'm ahead of both of the Renault drivers, because I know very well both of their drivers are very fierce competitors. I also have a Volvo right behind me, so it is fair to say this is going to be a real slugfest to see who eventually finishes in third position. And as long as I can basically keep Menu behind me, which is not going to be easy, but if I do manage to keep him behind me, then it is fair to say my points lead will only increase instead of decrease. Because I know how good Menu is around this circuit. And he's made a mistake. He has spun off into the grass as a result of giving contact to me. I now have one of the Hondas right behind me. I'm going to assume that's Tarquini because I think Thompson is running second. Looks as though third position is the best I can really hope for at the present time. And maybe some lapped traffic can also throw a monkey wrench in the works with these leaders that are now behind me. I know I wasn't necessarily needing this to happen, but if I was wanting to retain my points lead, then it is fair to say I was needing to limit the damage as much as I can to both the Renault drivers, and also to make sure I was able to score a podium in the first race. Meaning that as long as I can get a reasonable finish in the second race, if things stay the way they are now, then hopefully I will not be under quite as much pressure in the second race as I was the first race. So, we are now on to the end of lap 23 as we come through the final corner once again. A 25.5 second advantage to the Honda that is just up ahead of me. I'm going to suspect it's Frank Bieler who is leading this race in the leading Audi S4, but as long as I can stay in third position and defend my position with pretty much all my heart and soul, then hopefully I should have everything I need in order to increase my points tally, meaning that the advantage will only increase instead of decrease. Menu may have scored the pole, but effectively the chaos caught him out. I was wondering if that would ever happen to him. Thankfully it did, because he's clearly the best driver around this racetrack ahead of everyone else, but because of the mistakes he has apparently made in this race, I mean, I've also made mistakes, but not quite as many as Menu has, it is fair to say this is what has been keeping my championship hopes alive. I am very much the leader of the championship up to this point, and I have a freight train right behind me, which I have no doubt in saying is led by one of the runners. It's probably Jason Plato, so I think I'm just going to hold on to my points. I think I'm just going to hold on to third position whilst I'm here, because I do want to at least make sure I am able to hold on to third. Whilst these AI may try with pretty much all their heart and soul to try and make me flinch, but at the moment at least that does not seem to be the case. I'm now less than 34 seconds behind the Honda, but as long as I can hold on to third position with both runners behind me, then it is fair to say I'm in a real good position of comfort heading into the second race. And oh, fuck me. That Audi had to be really aggressive there if he was going to give me the bumper. And he must have got a really good exit out of that final corner, I would suspect. But anyways, through Paddock Bend once again, having to survive the chaos by leading it. I'm practically the leader of the pack here, whilst the back markers are wanting to at least... whilst the pack just behind me is very close together because they clearly have much less damaged race cars than I do. My car is practically wrecked, but somehow it's still running in third, and as long as I can keep this up, then it is fair to say I will manage to hold on for a really good position. As long as both the runners are behind me, then it's fair to say everything should hopefully go well. And even if I do make a few mistakes in the second race, hopefully they won't be too crushing for my efforts. Also, did I see one of the Nissans fighting for fourth? I'm pretty sure that had to be David Leslie, because that wasn't Anthony Reid I saw there. I'm pretty sure that was David Leslie who I saw there fighting for fourth position. And I am now starting to clear myself away from the field, so maybe this will be the attempt that actually manages to help me out in the process of potentially giving me even more of an advantage than I had before. And I'm approaching another back marker. I don't think it's Menu. It would be nice if it was Menu who I came through to overlap, but I'm pretty sure it's not. And we still have another 9 laps to go following this one, so there's still plenty of time for mistakes to happen, but hopefully they will not happen to me. My car is pretty much fucked up to this point, but somehow it's still running in third. I'm more than happy to be running in third because I'm ahead of both the Renault drivers as a result of their early race scuffles both of them were involved in, and that is precisely what's put me ahead of them. So I wouldn't think it's going to be possible for me to catch the two leaders now. They've pretty much gone on an absolute annihilation streak compared to where my car is, but they just seem to be careening away from me. And I have no problems with it because whilst I can say there are 2 cars ahead of me, I am very happy to say neither of those cars are Renaults up ahead of me, when they normally would be. Still, I think out of all the segments I've done so far, this is definitely the one that's taken the longest time for me to try and perfect. At least in terms of doing the second race, that's how long it's already taken, but again, my performance in this race is going a hell of a lot better than I thought it was going to go, so something tells me there might still be more to come here. And my laptop is not giving me any major issues at the moment, so still seems to be recording most of it just fine. Even then, of course, if you are noticing some glitches in certain areas, because I am recording this in 1080. But anyways, heading through the Jim Clark curve once again. All I have to do is just hold on to third position and hope that it's not one of the Renaults up ahead of me. And I'm pretty sure it's not one of them, because both of the Renaults are definitely behind me. And I have made sure of this because they both tried to force me off track, but again, they paid the price for it. Meaning that as long as my run from here is mistake-free, then I'm practically a free bird going into the second race. Even though I will still need to keep the spins to a minimum. Because it's already taken me 3 days to try and make it so I got this right. 3 days of gaming sessions and trial and error for me to basically make sure I actually did something here. So in terms of time, this has pretty much been the longest event I've had to do in terms of days since the expert knockout in Need for Speed 3, and in terms of trial and error, this has officially been the hardest I've done since 3 out of the 4 Rust Bucket races in Cars Mater National Championship. That's just how much I've been struggling to get past this one venue. It also really doesn't help on how the other thing I'm plagued with essentially is the nasty habit of seeming to get a good result in the first race, but yet not being able to make full perseverance of, oh my god, Frank Bieler is now out of the race. Holy shit. Frank Bieler just got taken out by one of the Hondas. Oh my god. And that literally happened with only 4 laps to go. He was clearly the dominant leader. Oh, okay. It must be both the Audis that are ahead of me, but still. Holy shit. I did not think Bieler was going to be the one that would drop out amidst all the chaos. So Bintcliffe is now the leader. It's still an Audi who leads this thing, so Audi must have absolutely dominated this race up to this point. Oh, correction. Yeah, I was going to say the game might have made an error there. It's actually one of the Hondas that was ahead of me, because I'm pretty sure there is an Audi behind me, but still. Bieler had a massive wreck at the end of Paddock Bend, so that's now going to promote me up to second, and for Renault that's probably going to rub salt to their wounds even more, meaning that I now have even more points to effectively extend my advantage over Menu. Still, I did not think Bieler was going to drop out right before he got to Druid's Corner, because I'm pretty sure had he not spun out and got taken by that Honda... Oh, there's a Honda ahead of me now. So it looks as though it is going to be a 1-2 finish for Honda potentially, unless I can manage to fight back for second. Doesn't look as though I'm going to catch up to Thompson, but still, it is nice to see a different team, with the exception of Vauxhall or Renault, that's actually won pretty much every single race up to this point. And the final lap has now begun here at Brands Hatch, and all I have to hope for is I do not choke, because I do have quite a pack of cars behind me, and I'm now pretty much back up into second position. Really didn't have any other choice there if I was going to get as many points as I could. I had a feeling the Honda would have more or less done something like that to me very similarly, but still. With Honda winning this race and me finishing second, that is a hell of a lot more than I could have asked for. But anyways, second place at Brands Hatch.
A comfortable victory in the end then for Thompson, who drove a superb race. Now the race positions.
That's amazing. The Renaults finished in 6th and 7th at the end of that race. So Thompson wins, I was 2nd, Tarquini 3rd, Rydell 4th ahead of David Leslie, Menu finishes 6th ahead of Plato and Bintcliffe was 8th, Calvin Burt finishes 9th ahead of Tim Harvey, Anthony Reid finishes just outside the points, then we had Radicic 12th ahead of Warwick, Hoy, Watts, and Frank Bieler very unexpectedly dropped out of this race with only 4 laps to go. I mean, he was practically dominating this race, and then suddenly, because he spun round and got door slammed by one of the Hondas, I'm going to assume that was Thompson, although it was probably Tarquini. It was ultimately what officially got him eliminated, and that was also what gave me second place in the race, and I now have a... let me think. I now have a 10-point lead going into this race. So I can basically make a ton of mistakes and still end up emerging as the championship leader going into Silverstone. But anyways, one race down, let's now try and survive the other race.